Right, welcome back everybody. So Nocawe Mafu is in studio with us, a National Executive Committee member of the ANC and the Deputy Chairperson of the party's Archives and Heritage Subcommittee, has also been telling us how she feels pleased about the repatriation of freedom fighters from Zimbabwe and Zambia, and that is no doubt something that can be a very proud moment for the party as well. Prof also with us here in studio, that we're going to continue to talk about those individuals that have been brought through. And I think it's a good time to start telling South Africa who it is that has their remains have been brought back to South Africa. So we've got these graphics that we can put up for you. We have got some of the biographies as well, which we'll read to you and certainly elaborate more on those names as soon as we're able to. So Vernon Mudley, this is one. MK Stanley Watson, that's another name. Son of renowned Johannesburg community and women's activist Mary Mudley. He went into exile in the 1960s, joined the MK, where he was known as Stanley Watson. He died in a drowning incident, and that was in Zambia in April 1967. Yeah, Prof. That's the first story that we have to tell you. And then, of course, I suppose one that we've been speaking about quite a lot is Todd Matshikiza. 1952, along with Henry Nxumalo, became one of the original writers of Drum magazine. After leaving Drum, he wrote for the Golden City Post. He had a deep passion for classical music, reflected in his choral compositions, Uxolo. Uxolo, commissioned for 70th anniversary celebrations of Johannesburg in 1956. There's so much history to him as a jazz musician. His most notable work was a pianist with the Manhattan Brothers and the Harlem Swingsters. 1958, Matshikiza composed music for King Kong, the all-black musical that became a nationwide hit in 1959. He left South Africa in 1960. He took up a position, an offer from the Zambian government with Zambian Broadcasting Corporation. In 1967, he left broadcasting to become a music archivist for the Zambian Information Service. He died in 1968. Prof?
It's just one of the most brilliant, kind of, human beings. It's so versatile. So when we speak here about remains in actually coming, when you come now to the biographies of the people that are there, then you begin to get to know. Because Todd Matshikiza was versatile. His piano, playing, and also as a person that we met, as the younger person, so full of humor and so full of life, and so full of spirit.
Yeah.
It almost makes you emotional when you just really see so much talent that went up in there to go and do. Now one begins to wonder as to whether if Atoli was back here, how would he be treated?
Amazing.
But let's pass.
Let's pass on that. Let's pass it on. But certainly it was lovely to see his daughter this morning as well. He was there awaiting the ceremony. So we managed to speak to her a little bit earlier on. So that was a beautiful moment. Again, we'll talk to the names and the biographies of those that have arrived intermixed with these live visuals that you're seeing on your screen at the moment. And these are the family members that are there, and they are also taking part in these special spiritual rituals that are happening. So let's move on to the next name that we have got available, and that's Duma Nokwe. He, of course, is the former ANC Secretary General, elected in 1958 at the 46th Annual Conference in Durban. He was educated at St. Peter's School in Johannesburg and Fort Hare University. He got a BSc degree and education diploma, and he took up a teaching post at Krugersdorp High School at the time. Active in the ANC Youth League from university, he was its secretary from 1953 to 1958. He served a sentence for entering Germiston location without a permit. Can you believe it? In 1952, in a defiance campaign. When he left prison, he was dismissed by the Transvaal Education Department at the time. After attending the World Youth Festival in 1953, he toured the Soviet Union, China, and Britain. Banning and restriction orders served on him in 1954, effectively barred him from teaching. Nokwe then, of course, moved on to study law. That was what he did. And in 1956, he became the first African barrister admitted to the Transvaal Supreme Court. They prevented him from practicing, however, his profession by the Native Affairs Department directive. Also debarred from taking chambers with white colleagues in Johannesburg in order to find an office in an African township. Nokwe contested the order on the grounds it conflicted with the Supreme Court rule that officers of a barrister must be within reach of the court. Along with 155 others, he was arrested in 1956 and put on trial for treason. It was dismissed in 1959. Nokwe, one of 30 whose trial continued under revised indictment, not acquitted until 1961, and during the state of emergency in 1960, he was jailed for 5 months. Directed by the ANC, he went underground to leave the country and went into Botswana with Moses Kotane. He died in Lusaka in 1978 at the age of 50. Can you believe it? What a story. I couldn't leave a thing out of that.
Yes.
Not a thing.
You can't. Look, Uncle Duma, as we call him in the African National Congress, is the embodiment of what the ANC is all about. As you read, you hear that he started his activism in the Youth League. So he is actually a graduate of the Youth League. And for me, one of the important things about his story is the fact that he was a teacher. He then is a graduate, is a BSc graduate, is a scientist, but he died as an advocate. And most of the time, when we want to connect and understand the activists and the comrades that left the country, we can't wonder how educated they were. And most of the time, because most of the time is that we want to link the struggle with the people that necessarily didn't go to school.
Yeah.
And it's important for us to understand that the African National Congress and the liberation in general was carried by the intellectuals. The intellectuals in South Africa are the ones that saw the need to liberate the South Africans. And when you listen to his story, and because in that biography, there's something that they've missed, that actually the former president, Thabo Mbeki, was mentored by him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. So not only him, I'm just picking him, but young people in the African National Congress were mentored by Uncle Duma. And Uncle Duma, when he went and settled in Lusaka and became the Secretary General of the African National Congress, and made sure that the young people that came in just don't come in and all say, we want to go to go and fight. He would actually say to them, go to school first, and then you can go to go and learn to be a military. But it's important that when time comes for us to liberate the country, you must be educated. And that's one of the things that I always value about him, the fact that he understood the value and the importance of education, even at the time that they were in exile, where they didn't even know whether they will ever be able to come back home.
Wow, 46 years later,
Yeah.
he's being brought back home.
He's been brought back home.
And it's a
46
moment of
years.
pride.
This is a big moment, and I do hope viewers at home, you know, this is important information for South Africans, and I hope that those of you that are listening are understanding the magnitude of what the country is going through right now. Because sometimes we do. I mean, there's so much noise around us, and we understand that, we do. But you know, there is a moment where you need to stop, and you need to actually just look back and think about what we were reading there. Not allowed to practice law with other white lawyers. You need to go and work in a township. You get arrested because you didn't have a pass. Things like this, these are the freedoms that these individuals that we are paying respect to today fought for, that we take for granted today.
It's very interesting, I mean, for me, is that the first person that dragged me into politics, where I wanted to join the politics, it was Duma Nokwe.
Wow.
But I was in the Transvaal here. So my friends and I had no money to go to Johannesburg to go and join the ANC because it was not around in there. And when they brought in Sobukwe to Paxton, because they kept him away, that's how then we became Africanists. but Duma Nokwe always had stayed up in our minds. Yeah.
Amazing. I want to put up the graphic, if we may, if the team can put it up, because I want to speak to a couple more of the names that we have got there. And Let's have a look and see. We'll put it up there. Please bear with me. I'm also going to just have a look for them. We've got them in no specific order, but here we go. I found it. Philip Zwandile Khumalo, or MK Caesar Mhlongo. So let me read this. Originally from the East Rand, became an activist during 1976 student revolt, left the country in 1977, joined MK, where he was known as Caesar Mhlongo, underwent training in Angola and elsewhere, and he died of natural causes, and it appears that it was TB on the 25th of October 1985 in Lusaka, Zambia. So that's Philip Zwandile Khumalo. The next one we've got is Boyce Botibo, and originally from Soweto, went into exile in 1963 and died in exile on the 8th of November in 1987, and the cause of death there was of a slow poisoning. Yeah. All right, so that's Boyce, and back in South Africa. Zwandile Simon Dinsi, originally from the East Rand in Gauteng, went into exile in 1977 following those 1976 student revolts, I beg your pardon, joined the MK in exile, where he was known as Sukiwe D. Verdict, underwent training in Angola and elsewhere. He died in Lusaka, Zambia on the 25th of August 1988. I think the next one we've got is Malani Donald Monare. Born in 1954, originally from the West Rand, Krugersdorp area, mobilized by 1976 student revolt, went into exile in 1977, joined the MK, where he was known as Soli Mate, underwent training in Angola and other countries. He died in Lusaka, Zambia on the 28th of November 1988. And to my guests, if at any time you want to weigh in, please feel free to.
Yes, I will weigh in on Georgina Masusu.
Okay, good. Let's first do Hector. Hector Skumbuzo Nkula, originally from a village in the Eastern Cape in Pala, later moved to Soweto, from where he went into exile in 1962, formed part of the Lutuli detachment and underwent military training in MK, where he was known as Sandile Makubalo, and he died of natural causes on the 6th of December 1988, and he is now back home. Then Georgina, and this is the one I think where you can weigh in. In fact, I'm going to ask you to weigh in already, because I'm going to look for the biography while you speak.
Yeah, I'm weighing on Georgina Masusu, because all the time, all the biographies that you have been reading, Leanne, were all males. And I'm weighing in on Georgina because I also want to bring it home to the South Africans that the struggle was non-sexist. And that there were women in the longest of time in the struggle. Georgina Masusu was a nurse by profession. And she's one of those nurses that left for Tanzania at the time that Tanzania had just received their freedom, their independence. And there was challenges there in terms of the health system there. And President Nyerere reached out to President Oliver Tambo to say, can we have nurses from South Africa that can come and help in Tanzania? And Georgina was one of those. And I'm raising this because I also want to bring it home that as our people went into exile, but they were also helping the frontline states in terms of the skills that they had. And the nurses, because if you remember the story of the 20 nurses, so she's part of that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm so glad that you have. You know, we have got very little information on Georgina. I mean, I've literally died in exile in 1988, so I'm so glad you're relaying this.
She's part of that 20, and the reason we're raising this is that when they got in there, they helped the nurses in Tanzania in training. They became, because remember what happened is that the country that had been occupying Tanzania, they just left with everything that they had. So they had to start afresh with putting together their health systems. And the 20 nurses that came from South Africa, part of Georgina being part of those, put that system together.
Yeah, it was also part of the same thing that King Sobhuza II got in a lot of South African nurses, to be there. And when I was there, they were led by Putuma's mother, who was a the nursing sister there. And because she spoke good English, she was only serving the white people.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
And you must always remember, South African nurses are the best trained in Africa.
Amazing.
So their skills are the best.
In demand.
Yes,
indeed.
and they are in demand. So Georgina is one of those 20 nurses.
And there are many, many more names that we're going to go through during this broadcast, and I'm just so glad that I have both of you here in studio to weigh in and talk to them as well. We're also going to get to the remains of a 11-year-old that also arrived in the country, Comrade Madisa, which we're going to be speaking to as well. He is a part of those that have been returned to South Africa. But we need to take a break. We'll be back with you after this.